Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the marketplace. My name is Daryl Powell. Coming up this afternoon, government finally secures more than what it targeted in 5-year bond sale after months of under-subscription. What does this signal, especially in these times of COVID-19? We will discuss. Also coming up, Ghana Tourism Federation concerned about disbursement process for the recently launched Tourism Development Project Grant Scheme. We'll speak with the Executive Secretary. And as we look ahead to International SME Day, we will discuss how the COVID-19 pandemic may just be a good trigger to unlock the potential of small businesses. Thanks for being with us once again. Details right after this break. And thanks for staying with us on the marketplace. My name is Daryl Powell. Some exciting news to begin with, depending on where you are standing this afternoon. Government managed to secure far more than the targeted amount for its 5-year bond sale. Based on the securities calendar, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta was expecting about 800 million cedis, but secured more than 1.4 million cedis. JoyNews has the latest.
The results can be described as interesting, looking at the fact that government this time round didn't struggle to secure the entire amount targeted compared to recent bond sale. According to the bond results, 1.45 billion Ghana cedis worth of bids were tendered, but government also decided to accept everything, which is normally not the practice. But could this also signal government being under some financial pressure, looking at the fact that the COVID-19 has created some 20 billion Ghana cedis hole in government's finances? Well, results of upcoming bonds would tell, as the Finance Ministry is seeking to raise a total amount of 17.8 billion Ghana cedis for the third quarter of this year. There are also concerns about how this could impact on the rising debt stock, which has reached 236 billion Ghana cedis as at the end of March this year. Government is setting aside some 20 billion Ghana cedis to serve as interest on loans.
All right, let's make sense of this. Joining me via Zoom is economist with Data Bank, Courage Mate. Great to have you on the program this afternoon, Courage. So what does this signal? Renewed investor interest?
Well, thanks for having me, Daryl. There are a number of things that affect the performance of any offer or auction that happens on the market. Investor interest, and confidence is part of it. But then you also will look at the pricing of the transaction and the timing of the transaction. So whilst we cannot totally rule out investor confidence and investor interest, one thing we need to also look at is the fact that we are in a time when you cannot really get a definite test on the pulse of investors as far as the development and the outlook is concerned. So we wouldn't want to assign more weight to investor confidence, at least for now. But when you look at the other variables like pricing, the transaction cleared at 19.25% for a 5-year bond. If you go onto the domestic secondary bond market, what you notice is that all treasury bonds that will mature in 2025, that's a 5-year term to maturity, are hovering around that level. Now, if you have a pricing that investors could have gotten it on the secondary market and you're offering them that on the primary market, then they are indifferent. They can as well come to you and buy it. Most especially if the investor is one that needs a sizable volume that he cannot get on the secondary market. And so then they will come onto the primary market. And then the final point of the timing. At this time of the month, normally what you see is that pension funds tend to receive a lot of flow from salary payments. And so there's a lot of liquidity on their balance sheet for them to channel into treasury securities, especially at a time when the main option, or if you like, the only option available is the treasury issuance.
Okay, and this is coming at the time that the Bank of Ghana just yesterday warned of serious economic challenges amid the COVID-19 pandemic. I want you to juxtapose that, and as well, how seriously should we take these concerns from the Bank of Ghana?
Well, I mean, if the Bank of Ghana, who is one of the people at the center of this heat, says so, then we should take it serious. And then if we look at the fiscal numbers for first quarter, where there was an overall deficit of 3.3% of GDP against a target of 1.8% of GDP, we overrun the target. We need to take it serious. If you consider the fact that that 3.3% of GDP deficit that we recorded in first quarter, that's the largest quarterly deficit we record since the third quarter of 2016. So we also need to take it seriously. And if you consider the fact that the first quarter numbers we have did not capture the relief expenditure that the government had to embark upon in April and in May to ease the pressure on the populace, and the fact that when the second quarter comes up, we might see a bigger impact on revenue and expenditure, then we need to take these discussions very seriously.
But do you see a game plan? Is there a game plan, do you think, by government to navigate these economic challenges associated with this pandemic?
Yes, sure. I see right through what government is trying to do that there's a game plan. First of all, because of the drastic shortfall in revenue to target, and the fact that government does not only have to spend to save lives, but save livelihoods as well over the short to medium term, the deficit will inevitably widen. Now, once the deficit inevitably widen, what it also means is that the public debt portfolio will inevitably go up. If the public debt is going up, what strategy should you use to ensure that you do not totally compromise on debt sustainability? Here comes the strategy, where we've noticed that the strategy now is that every new debt accumulation, particularly as a result of COVID related, should come at a less expensive cost, so that even if the debt portfolio goes up, the cost structure or the cost implication of this new debt should be one that will not undermine our debt sustainability.
Great stuff. Thanks very much for your perspective this afternoon, Courage. Marty, as always, thank you very much indeed.
Absolute pleasure.
Well, you're watching The Marketplace. We want to move on to other news for you this afternoon. Micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises in Ghana contribute about 70% to the nation's gross domestic product and make up about 92% of all businesses. Yes. Now, this represents the largest industrial sector in the industrial landscape, and these businesses are among the worst impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. So whilst the situation may look dire, it may also present an opportunity to unlock the potential of these businesses. Joining me for a conversation ahead of the International MSME Day, which will be marked globally tomorrow, is Ernest Ama, his country director for Impact, a German-based accelerator. Good to speak to you this afternoon, Ernest. So we've talked a lot about the impact this COVID-19 pandemic has had on small businesses, but I guess this is also opportunity to unlock their potential.
Exactly, Darryl. And once again, thanks for having me on your show. When you look around Africa, you will see that MSMEs account for over 80% of employment in the African region. So you can clearly see that in the employment narrative, these MSMEs are doing very well. What they only need is some support from government, which is to create an enabling environment that will enable more young people to build enterprises. And we need government to focus on building this enabling environment. So as you rightly said, we have COVID-19, yes, with us, but we have to interpret it as the big opportunity, because if you look at history in itself, you see that some of the great innovations that we are having stem from problems, from challenges, from inconveniences that people thought couldn't be fixed. But some people decided that there was an opportunity here, and they had a different understanding of what some people were seeing to be problems. They saw it to be opportunities. And through that, we have very, very huge enterprises out of that. So definitely, this is an opportunity, and we have to set our mind to what enterprises and businesses that we can create out of the COVID pandemic.
And there's talk of an economic recession all over the world, here in Africa, even here in Ghana. So how significantly do you think that a robust SME sector would be in mitigating the impact of an economic recession, for that matter? I'm not too sure Ernest can hear me. Can you hear me, Ernest?
Well,
great.
If you look at it, if you look at it from a dispassionate policy angle. Hi, Daryl. Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Yes. So I was in Africa, and if you are reading all these reports about us, you might get the impression that we are disadvantaged, and the situation over here is going to get worse. But I have a different view. We have been used to very severe hardships. We have been used to very severe and all manner of crisis. So we are better groomed for situations like this. We have the requisite resilience to be able to weather this COVID-19 pandemic. The reason why I'm saying this is if you look at the whole world, we tend to have the lowest to basic public goods like roads, accessible water supply, and even you look at the nature of agricultural farming and everything, there is a lot of catch up we have to do. These are all opportunities. And I believe that the COVID pandemic is pushing us harder to confront these realities that we've lived with for some years. And what then? The only way we can solve some of the problems that is facing us is private enterprise, private creativity, and private ideas. And that's what we need to encourage.
Okay, final question to you, if you can do it in a minute. So we've discussed a lot about the support for SMEs. We've seen the MBSSI start disbursing monies to some of these businesses. What more can be done?
What more can be done is we have to start fixing the structural lapses, the issues that we have that makes it difficult for entrepreneurs in Ghana to grow and to expand their businesses. So I'm happy seeing the work that we are doing in the area of the Rent Act and in terms of making it more effective. We still have a lot of work to do in terms of making credit easily accessible to entrepreneurs and trying to whittle down the collateral requirements so that it becomes easier for people to access needed capital to grow their businesses. The other point that I would like to make is we also have to improve our infrastructure. We need to have really good roads and to also work on improving our public transportation system to mitigate the traffic problems that we have here in Accra.
All right. Thank you so much, NS Ama, Country Director, German-based Accelerator Impact, joining us with some thoughts as we look ahead to International SME Day. My next guest is a small business owner, Mamefoa Tando. I hope we have her. She's founder and creative lead of Love Ankara, which is an African print fashion startup. Mamefoa was running this business for a while. She took a break and decided to take it up again just when the pandemic started. So great to have you, Mamefoa Tando. I don't think you were anticipating COVID-19 to become a global headache when you decided to restart your business. But tell me what thoughts were running through your head as you were restarting your business, I should say, during this time.
Okay, so for us, I think just like everybody else, we had quite grim expectations of what the future held for us. As you rightly said, we were coming back into the market. We are launching new products, and we're pretty excited. And then COVID-19 came up, and we're like, okay, what do we do? So for us, we had to quickly pivot and sort of build a very robust and resilient plan in a very short period of time. So we had to quickly think, what do we do? How do we safeguard the health of our workers, but also how do we stay afloat in this very uncertain time? So that's basically what we did. We've tried to stay lean since we began. So we continue to do that. We also stockpiled on essential materials that we needed for our business, which was really critical for us. And we just waited it out to see what the responses will be. Obviously, for us, we had to also show that we cared about alleviating this virus, this pandemic. So we had to adapt quickly and produce new products like masks and our face shields. I'm not wearing mine now. So these are some of the masks that we've been producing. We've also made Ankara face shields to also do our bit in supporting the country fight this.
Okay. Speak about mask. I always have my mask with. It's become an essential commodity now. And so, tell me about your experience. I mean, you started. What was your anticipation? How has it been during this time? It's been 3 months of the pandemic.
In the beginning, as expected, there was a slowdown on spending. Most people were asked to be at home. We had the government directive, the country's directive, and so spending was low, demand was low. But then, as we began to produce new products for the market, like the masks and the shields, there was an increased response again. For our ballerinas is something that has always had a good demand. So we did continue to supply those, even though we have a new collection coming up. But the response from the market, from our consumers, from our customers for our new product has been overwhelming. And that is what has kept us afloat.
So how do you hope to survive these challenging times? And what support do you need?
Sorry, what was the last part? I didn't hear that.
How you hope to survive these challenging times? What support you need, essentially?
Well, I think every entrepreneur needs funding at this point, really. So yes, we have applied for some funding. Government and BSSI COVID-19 alleviation program. We have applied for that, and a few others are in the pipeline. Aside funding, we really are doing our best to stay afloat. Like I said, we are staying lean as much as possible. Manufacturing in this country, in this environment, is already quite challenging. We haven't had as much access to some of our suppliers because of the closed borders. But we have managed with our limited resources. We have really managed with our limited resources. We are going to continue producing products that our customers need at this time. And then we'll assess the situation and adapt. Really, as entrepreneurs, that's what we do. We fight, we adapt, and we move.
Yeah, adapt. That's what you can do right now. Thanks so much, Mami Fuatando, for speaking with us. I've not forgotten your ballerinas. We'll probably buy and grab a pair for my wife.
Please do. We're waiting for you.
Great, thanks very much indeed. Well, you're still watching The Marketplace, still on MSME Day. Small businesses operating in the tourism sector are expected to benefit from the $9 million tourism development project grant scheme, which was launched this week. But the Ghana Tourism Federation is concerned that the funds may not go where it is needed. I'll be speaking with the executive secretary in a moment, but I want to take you back to the launch of that grant scheme where the tourism minister highlighted some more details about the scheme.
Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and his government solicited for a facility from the International Development Agency of the World Bank to implement the Ghana Tourism Development Project. And today, we are privileged to launch an aspect of it, which is the grant scheme. Honorable Minister, the Tourism Development Project has 4 main components. Component 1 comprises strengthening tourism enabling environments. This component aims to address tourism enabling constraints most likely to have transformation impact on the tourism sector in Ghana, such as training and skills development of the industry players, aviation and entry visa policy improvements, and tourism branding and marketing.
All right, sounds good, right? $9 million for tourism development. Well, GATOF has some concerns. I'm joined by the executive secretary of GATOF, Emmanuel Frimpong. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. I want to first pick your thoughts about this grant, the $9 million that the World Bank is assisting us with to develop our tourism sector.
Thank you very much, Darrell, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers and those who are listening to us. Yes, for us as Ghana Tourism Federation, we are excited about this because for the past few weeks, we've been advocating for the tourism infrastructure being looked at. So this 9 million to us is very good. We welcome it, and we look forward to the implementation.
But you're concerned about the disbursement process and where the funds could go at the end of the day. You're concerned it may not go to the right people?
For now, I wouldn't say that it might not go to the right people because it just 2 days ago that the minister spoke about it. But usually what you would have expected is that for us as private sector, because if you look at our setup, the hotels are one of the federation association that is under the federation, the tour operators, tour guides, chefs association, about 32 different associations. So if you look at the setup, then one would have expected that we would have been involved in the whole process, but unfortunately we were not.
And so what are you seeking? Some more engagement from government because you believe that most of the people that are supposed to benefit fall under you?
Exactly so, because if you look at the requirements, there's a number of things that we are not too clear about. We've been seeking to engage them to look at how do we help our members to actually assess this grant. You know, it's a grant. It's a matching grant. We're supposed to get a matching fee. But as we speak with you right now, we don't even know what is the matching fee, how much one is supposed to get before he can apply for this grant. And then also, we also have up to July 8th to express interest. And we have a number of issues that need to be addressed before one can actually express interest. And if we only have up to July 8th, then that is not good enough. So we need much more engagement from the fund managers.
Okay, Emmanuel Frimpong, thank you so much. Hopefully the authorities are listening and will engage you very soon. Let's see how that goes. Thank you very much for speaking with us on the marketplace. That was Emmanuel Frimpong. He is
Thank you very much.
Executive Director of the Ghana Tourism Federation, bringing the marketplace to an end this Friday afternoon. To be in good company. My name is Darrell Powell. The election brief is up next.